I'm Cathy from Eclectic Images and thank you for joining me. Today's card is one I've called Emu Collage, and it's basically our gorgeous emu stamp coloured with some shimmer dusts and pentel markers, but with some extra stamps around the background of him just to give a lovely soft collage effect. So the stamps that we're using are emu, but also the two background ones I've chosen for today's play is Desiderata and Leaf Swirl. This one I used Desiderata and some flowers out of one of the Beati sets. Also the Distressed Lines makes a great little collage background stamp as well. Okay, our inks today are Versafine Clair in Morning Mist and Versamark for embossing. Colouring, as I said, will be done with some pentel markers. Now I'm just going to use a limited palette and do some blending to get the colours I want, and then we'll probably add a bit of the Uniquely Creative shimmer pen. Also for colouring, shimmer dusts. So this is a Colour Blast Beati product, and they come in pots like this. I use a little funnel to decant them into more squeeze bottles. So today's colours I'm using Midnight and Peacock. In the sample card, we actually used Fern and Velvet in the background and then Peacock around the emu. But Midnight has a lot of extra colours in it, which will come out once we spritz it with water. So I'm just going to use the one colour on the background. We've also got black embossing powder and some glossy accents. Okay, let's start doing some playing. Now I've already embossed the emu just to save us a little bit of not listening to heat guns. So we're going to head straight into getting our shimmer dusts on. Now I've also made two masks, one of the blob of the emu and one just of his eyes and beak. So that will make sense as we do it. Now, but you notice though that as I put this on him, just looking for where his mouth is so I line it up, you'll notice that there's extra fronds of hair that come out wider than the mask. That's because when I'm working with the emu stamp, I don't picture that the whole body of the emu comes all the way to the end of that fluff. I look at those as being little extra fluffy parts, and that his basic size is more that sort of shape. I'll just move this work pad out of here and work on here while I'm getting the shimmer dust happening all around the place. So with our Midnight, we're just going to, actually no, I'll do the stamping first, sorry. So we do need the mask on for both the stamping and the shimmer dust. So using our Versafine Clair, I've already got my Desiderata stamp loaded up onto the panel, onto an acrylic block, and I'll bring that book back in underneath me or else I'll be making all these clunking sounds on the glass with the acrylic block. Now when I've stamped this, I don't want the whole stamp on there. I'm just wanting some bits coming out. So I'll look at where I want that bottom corner. So I'm going to ink it, but I'm just going to ink it by wiping some ink on. I'm not tapping over the whole stamp, and I'm going to stamp it off on my pad once so that I've got less intensity of ink when I stamp it on the card. Now I do need to give it a really good push because we've got that mask in place. So I'm just really going to press down on that. Lift everything up and we get this nice bitty sort of effect. Now pop the mask back on again. You can tell by this that I've used it repeatedly. It is made from a sticky note, so there's a little bit of stick there to hold it in place. Now I want some more of this stamp coming up this corner here, so that's the bit I've got to ink. In the meantime, I'll just give that first bit a bit of a clean so I don't end up getting extra ink that I don't want. So let's again just wipe our ink on, not looking at getting an even coverage. We will stamp it off on the scrap and then pop it in above our emu. And again, really hard push to make sure I get past both the embossing and the edges of the mask. Cool. That's just what we want. Now pop that back on again and we'll add a bit of the leaf swirl in. Again, same ink, and I'm going to do second generation again. So let's ink it up. stamp it off on the scrap. And the mask lifts off every time. You've got to keep replacing it. A minor inconvenience. Now, this time, where am I going to go with it? Yeah, I might bring it out that way. Okay, let's ink it up again. Stamp off on our scrap once. Work out where we want it. And press down. So it just creates this bit of interesting background behind him. Oh, and the time when I don't need the mask to stay stuck, it stays stuck. Okay, take the mask away. Now, while we're putting on the shimmer dust, I really want to not get too much other colours on his eyes and his beak. So I'm going to pop that mask in just to cover those bits. You often do still get a bit of marking on it, but it won't be too much. Okay. Now slip our notepad out from underneath and back to our Midnight Shimmer Dust. So because I'm going to colour him in with the peacock, I really don't want too much of the Midnight directly over the top of the emu. I want it more out where we've done the other stamping. And always with shimmer dust, it looks like you're hardly doing anything at all. And then when you put the water on, it's just magic. I'll do a little bit out the sides, but not a lot. Okay, we can always add a bit more. You can't very easily take it away, but you can add more if you need to. Okay, now this is where the magic starts. Let's spritz. Now I want this to stay looking quite blobby, so I'm not going to use a brush to spread it at all. I'll leave it looking quite bitty. But I might, if there's a bit too much happening, get a bit of paper towel and just knock a bit of water back a bit. If I'm getting too much activity. Have a bit more happening up around his head. It's just little taps because you don't want too much coming out. Little taps. You can see how much colour there is in the Midnight. So that's all the colours that they've used in the blend to make the black colour. I'm just going to give this a spritz on the back, which will help to stop any more curling in the paper. There we are, it's flattening down nicely for us. And I will pop my finger over the top of that mask to hold it in place. Your mask does get very wet, but it can still be used several times. Oh, nice. Okay, I think stop there. Stop there. Okay, let that mask come off. Okay. Now let's just dry it off a little bit. Just so that we can keep working with it. I don't want to take out too much of that great colour, but I do want to have the card so that we can work with it. Okay, we'll also dry our mat off. And let's bring our work pad back. And I'm going to go over it. Sorry, there's going to be noise. I'm just going to give it a bit of a dry with the heat gun. You'll notice when I'm drying with the heat gun, I keep the heat gun moving. That's because I don't want to overheat that embossed area. So if I was to concentrate the heat, it would overheat that and the powder melts into the card and you lose that lovely shine that you get with embossing powder. So when I'm heating embossing powder, I go quite slow. when I'm drying a card, I keep the air moving. Okay, let's start doing some painting. Right, so with some peacock, I'm just going to pop that on my craft mat. Same with anything with shimmer dust, you do not need a lot. Okay. So I'll concentrate it where I know I want the colour. Then I can clean my brush and come in with just a clean brush and just blend some of those bits. Just soften it out so it blends into the midnight. You've got to be a little bit careful because you don't want to, there I've got a little bit too much happening. So I'm just going to give my brush a clean and try and smooth that away a bit. There we go. Okay, now let's carefully bring some of the peacock up around his eye. And we'll just ignore the sounds in the background of the dog getting comfortable. Try and make that a bit rounder. And again, just clean the brush and then just soften that. So I'm just pushing back in just to soften the edges of where I've put the colour. I'm just going to get my bit of paper towel and move it onto a clean part so that shimmer dust is such brilliant colour, I'm probably picking up colour off that onto my brush. Okay, around here. So I want to be careful not to get it on the whites of his eyes because I'd like that to stay really clear of any other colour. And I want to try and keep the shape a little bit rounded like his face, but still without a defined edge. That's what I'm trying to say, not a defined edge. Okay, up the top here. So again, go a little bit smaller than where I want. So I've got room to then blend it out. Oh, we're getting magical colours happening there where it's starting to blend with the midnight. That's just brilliant. So let's just blend it a little bit. Look at that. Isn't he cute? Okay, give my brush a really good clean. And now, as I said, I'm challenging myself working with a limited palette with the Pentel brush markers. So I'm going to pop some yellow on my mat. I'm hoping you can see past the work area, the work pad, to see that. So let's pop some yellow down, which will use the yellow, but also some blue to blend it with and some pink to blend it with. So let's pick up a bit of blue and yellow together. And that's going to make a lovely colour for his eyes. So the Pentel brush markers, they do have a good range of colours, but because they blend so well together, or mix so well together, it gives you a whole lot more colours that you can make. Okay, clean my brush, and now I'm going to paint his beak in yellow. I actually don't know technically if a emu's beak is yellow. I think they're a bit more of a soft brown colour, but I like his beak in yellow. You'll notice I'm turning the card round, so I'm butting the tip of my brush up against the embossing. That way I'm less likely to go outside my edges, because of the nature of this product. If I did go outside my edge, it would immediately mix with that peacock colour, and that would then be inclined to bleed into my yellow and contaminate this area. Now I'm going to mix a little bit of pink in with some yellow, and we'll add some touches of orange in there as well. Just makes the beak look a little bit more three-dimensional to have another colour in there. I think it makes it a bit more interesting, and I've got a little bit of colour trying to seep in there, so I'll just use the paper towel just to drop it back a bit. So yeah, so that's just mixing our brushes to get some extra colours there. Now that's basically it for the card, but I do want to add some of the shimmer pen. So this is just like a water brush, but it's shimmery. So we're just going to pop that over the top. Now wipe it clean, because it will pick up colour of whatever I'm painting it over. And give that a clean, because it's picked up a bit of shimmer dust or other markers or something on it. Okay, now I can see I've got a little bit of bleeding happening there. Even with the embossed edge, I've got a bit of bleeding happening from the beak into the peacock colour, which I was worried about bleeding happening the other way. So I'm just going to dab that off and give it a bit of a dry. Then come in with a smidge more peacock. Trying not to get too much water too close to that edge of the beak. Okay. Oh, I love the mix of colours that's happened up here on his head. I think that's great. Now I'm going to stick it to the base card before I... No, I'm not, because I haven't got the base card here. So it will be stuck to a piece of black base card. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to go ahead with doing some glossy accents. Just give that a squeeze and make sure I've got a bit running. I have. So this is for his beak and his eyes. So if I was mounting it, I would mount it first so that I don't have to wait for this to dry to be able to turn the card over and put double-sided tape on. But it will get mounted later once it has dried. It's all good. Okay, and a bit on his eyes. Just gives it a lovely glaze. Really makes them stand out.
I quite often have glazed eyes.
Glazed eye. All right, let's move some bits away. I'm going to bring this forward onto the black tablecloth so Matthew can get a nice close-up for us. So that is our gorgeous little emu collage. You know, I'm still going to play a bit more, Matthew. Can I drag it back here a bit? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just looking at his proportions and thinking he's got a fair bit more head than body. So I'm going to come in with the peacock still, because I've still got some on my mat, and just... Oh, gosh, golly, that colour is so vivid. And just actually widen him out a bit, blend him in with that midnight colour a little bit more. So now I'm cleaning my brush and coming in with a cleaner brush just to, again, soften edges. Let those colours of that midnight blend into the peacock a bit. And now I've got a bit of a line there, so I'll just come in and just tease that a bit until we've broken it up a little bit. So I'm just pushing some water into it, letting it flow. I'm never one for liking edges, so I just want to break things up a little bit. Bit of paper towel, just knock it back a little bit. Excellent. So I feel that gives him a bit more proportion. All right, let's go again with bringing him forward onto the black so you can have a look at him. There we go. How gorgeous is that? So that's emu with a bit of collage elements, just to give him a bit of nice background. Okay, now the next thing is cleaning up my board because I've now got all that vivid colour all over it. So that'll get a clean up as well. Just wiped over with water and paper towel will be fine. Thank you for watching today. I hope you have fun having a go with this one. Anything where we're playing with the emu though is always fun. Thanks for watching. See you again next time.